Across the Park podcast is proud to be sponsored by Globe Gas and Heating. For the best kitchen and bathroom renovations, boiler servicing and repair, and central and underfloor heating in the Northwest, head over to globecentralheating.com and quote Across the Park for a free quote. Welcome back to Across the Park podcast. My name is Ian Mills for episode 8 of 24-25, a remote show this week as the Pod Cafe are getting ready to record for us at Goodison Park tomorrow. I'm going to go down and meet the Everton women's captain, Megan Finnegan, so keep an eye out for that show. Can't wait to get down there. May even be a little appearance from my little lads. Welcome back to the show for the first time this season, Colin Flood, the ever popular Mr. Colin Flood. How are you, lad?
Good, Mills. Thanks for having me again.
Oh, it's always great to get you on, mate. It's always great to get you on. And, when Judge's in one of his many holiday homes, it opens up an avenue, doesn't it? To have a chat.
It certainly does, yeah.
Big thanks, as always, to our sponsors, Globe Gas and Heating, at the video there. And a big hello to our friends over at Alfie's Squad, who are doing amazing work, as always. Cole, we're here to talk footy, and we're here to talk initially about Everton 1, Fulham 1. I'm gauging the socials right after the game, engaging them again the next day. I'm having conversations in WhatsApp groups. There's two trains of thought here. First one is the unbeaten run goes on and Everton nick a point in dramatic fashion. Should Everton fans leave the ground buoyed by that? There's an argument for that. Definitely is. Counter argument is the performance just wasn't great. It wasn't good. I think Fulham, at times, they looked a level above at times. We looked a little bit scared. So we're here to try and find the hybrid. How are you feeling after Saturday? Bad performance, but the unbeaten run goes on and we get a point.
Frustrated, obviously, because I think anyone watching that game, whether you're neutral or a blue, or even a Fulham fan, you would have watched that and thought there was only one team who looked organised, in possession of the ball. One team who probably looked like they were trying to create things in a way which I think I've always alluded to. It is the training element. Is like, what are they actually doing through the week, where you can see it on the pitch? You can see that with Fulham, but if I'm honest with you, Mills, it's just a consistent thing with Moyes there, but with Dyche, you know what I mean. It's a very similar way to the way Moyes set up. You knew which way he was going to play. You know, it weren't going to be pretty on the eye. I think we got lucky getting a point in the end with that goal. We would have been having a totally different conversation around it. But yeah, we've come out a little bit buoyant, by robbing a point at the end of it. But again, it's not a nice watch, is it? If we're honest, and I think that's probably the brunt of a lot of people's frustrations. Is like, we've added players in this season. Maybe injuries killed a few of us, but I'd still like to see more, from the team, because that front to back play into the channel or the wide player, it's a bit predictable. It's a bit boring, and we always seem to be chasing the ball around the pitch. We never seem to be moving the ball around the pitch, which is a bit, a bit frustrating for me when I'm watching it. But I think it's just a tough watch at the minute. But all the same, we're on a bit of an unbeaten run, and it does build a bit of momentum.
And that's it. And if you sit with your pint of beer at the end of May and you look back, you might say, do you know what? That run was important. It kept going. And I think, look, I'm disappointed by that performance. So disappointed. I don't want Fulham to come and have the majority of play and be the favourites at Goodison. But I think that, don't forget, those players got clapped off on Saturday night. Spirit of the Blues was playing, and it could have been a lot worse. Everton now need to take that into Southampton, which we will talk about. A big thing for me, Cole, when I was watching the game on Saturday, and I think you've touched a little bit upon it there. Do you think some of our players at times were scared to take the ball? I was watching Jordan Pickford roll it out and looking, and the option was to go long because I felt that no one really wanted the ball at times in the first half. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, in contrast to that, we go 2 up against Ipswich the other week, and got that little bit of confidence. You did see a different type of footy. I just think the way we're set up at the moment, Mills, it's not to play through thirds. It's to play into a final third
Yeah.
and build from there. Limit the amount of mistakes. I think we've said it before on other shows, and I just don't feel that his style of play, but also he doesn't believe in the players. Maybe they've got the quality to build from the back, and I think early doors last season, teams got onto us trying to play out from the back and build traps really quickly, so we couldn't get out. So I think if there's one thing he's learned from that, it is to be more direct. But all the same, whether it's a combination of the crowds, impatience, playing off every touch, or groaning off every touch that every player takes. It does seem to me like the players have got no confidence out with the home crowd, to play. But all the same, I think if you can do it away from home, you should be able to do it at home. I think we just don't. I don't know. It's a bit of a thing for me. Is like I look at fullbacks. I think I've said it a few times, and the amount of times our fullbacks and our centre mids play backwards, it's so frustrating. When we're in really good areas of the pitch, and we almost make it really easy for other teams to get set again and press out. And it's just that lack, like you're saying there, of confidence that I see it in other areas of the pitch, wide areas. Don't get crosses in early enough. When we do play direct, Dom's like very isolated, so it's almost like they don't know that he's going to play long. And when they do, it's probably too late. We're not in a position to support. So I do feel we're a little bit disjointed, especially the home games I've watched. And I think we rely on that work ethic too much. The closing people down and winning the ball back and recycling in certain areas. But you've got to have more than that in the Prem. You've got to show more than that in the team performance. And for me, I do feel it's a lack of confidence in front of the home crowd and the way we may get on people's backs for certain mistakes. And I think they have a certain way of wanting to play at home. And I personally don't think it's the right way, but it's effective because it's getting points.
It's been effective the past 2 seasons. It's done what it says it'll do on the tin. It's kept Everton in the Premier League, and we're not hammering teams. We're not being attractive in our play 9 times out of 10. But for me, Cole, one thing I'd want to add to that is if I'm a footballer or even a football fan, I've watched Everton do this over the years and it's worked. If you're playing against the team, if you're just having an off day, and sometimes 2 or 3 players can at once have an off day, which I think plays a part in the first half on Saturday, go and smash someone, get the crowd back up. I'm not saying go and take a yellow card or give a penalty away, but someone go and press, someone go and leave a push on someone go and charge that keeper down. Things like that didn't even happen on Saturday, and it was under the lights at Goodison. And for me, that played a big part. It was just a lack of energy.
Mills, I always say it, like within football, it doesn't matter, how soon it is, but get a shot off early because it gets the crowd going. It sets a tone with the atmosphere that, we want to attack, we want to go at teams. But I think we struggle with the last few games I've watched at home. I think our first shot probably comes within the first 10 minutes. But it's in the latter end of the 10 minutes where, I watch a lot of teams come at us and they go for us in the first 5 minutes. They get 2 or 3 shots. But I would say set the tone with a tackle or set the tone with a shot. Put the crowd on the front foot as well as the team. But I just don't. It just doesn't seem to be that we play. We want to play in that way. I think it's just set a safe pace to the game where the other team can't put the pressure on enough to get opportunities to score earlier on. But I agree. I think those little triggers like that for the fans are massive, for getting them behind them and encouraging them. But I think also, we'll probably talk into it in the game. It's just the game management as well. I think that when I look at from the bench as well, as much as the players, that has an effect on the crowd as well. And like you're saying there, that tackle, that early tackle, sets a tone, gets the crowd behind them, gives them a lift. I just think it sounds so simple, doesn't it? But yeah, we just miss the trick all the time doing it.
Yeah, it feels like one almost a write-off, despite having a point. It feels like we'll just close a chapter on that. We'll move on. Before we get away from that game, you had Melanie Harvey on the show last week, and one of the social media questions that was asked of Melanie was, do you think the manager brings Jared Branthwaite back in, or because Michael Keane was so impressive at Ipswich, does he keep Michael Keane in? Now, Melanie likened it to in the 80s, she said, no matter how well Alan Harper or Kevin Richardson played when they came in, when the better players were fit, they came back in. So she thought, and that's fair. I also see the argument that Michael Keane really didn't do anything to be dropped. But were you surprised that Keane started over Branthwaite on Saturday?
I mean, I don't think we know the full backdrop to it, to be honest, Mills. I don't know how fit he was, and me personally, I think it was the Newcastle game, was it? He come back, he just was it the Newcastle? I'm not sure it was the Newcastle, but the game he come back anyway. He set us at ease. You see more balance, and for me, it'd be no argument for me. I'd just put him straight back in. If he was fit enough to be on the bench, he's fit enough to play. So my stance on that would be to bring him back in, and in all honesty, Michael Keane's had enough time to prove to be a starter for the team, and I do think he just he'd be the one having to be more patient. But you've got to get your best players on the pitch.
Have we put ourselves, or I say we, as the manager put himself in a situation now where we're almost waiting for a Michael Keane or a James Tarkowski mistake to get Branthwaite back in? Because I get what you're saying. We might not know the full story. He might not be fully fit. Let's work on the basis that he was. Like you said, he was on the bench. He came on. The line has been drawn in the sand now that if you're in form, you're staying. And I'm not saying that's the wrong message for a manager to have to a squad. But does that put us in a situation now where we're waiting on a mistake?
Well, if it is, it's a very risky game to play
Yeah.
because between Keane and Tarkowski, they make a lot of mistakes. I think for me, Brantwaite, he can make a mistake, but I think he always finds a position to recover. But for me, you've just got to get your best players, more balance. I think left-sided centre back, while you've got him there and he's available, you have to play him. I think he wins more headers. I think he's more commanding, and he just offers the team so much more balance by playing. Whether he's 100% fit. Again, if he's fit enough to be on the bench, he should be fit enough to start for me.
Yeah, well, it was the Palace game. He came back and wasn't he? Played 90 minutes against Palace and we won. And unfortunately, he went down the game. But look, another player who was sort of used to being on the bench, but he came off and made a difference. And we've got to give him credit for it. Was Beto. Now, I haven't seen a lot in Beto that gives me encouragement that he's the solution. I think the fact that we went and signed Brozier on deadline day indicates that for whatever reason, Lewin goes down injured or we get a bid in January, that the manager wouldn't be comfortable with just having Beto. But let's give credit where it's due. He came on and he done well, didn't he?
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's the best way to answer a manager, isn't it? I think what we can't, overlook with him is his work ethic.
Yeah.
It just seems to me, though, when it comes down to the coaching and how best to use that type of centre forwards, it just doesn't suit the style of play behind him. So, the high balls in, suit Calvert-Lewin, but it probably doesn't suit Beto. I think I've said it on a show, last season. I would love to have seen Gomez with Beto, where he was getting slided down the side, a ball that was in behind on the floor. But everything seems to be up in the air. It just doesn't suit him. But for work rate, I love his work rate, and he works exceptionally well off the ball. But the games that he has played, he's probably worked that much off the ball, Mills. He looks absolutely shattered when the ball comes to him. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I just don't think the style of football that we play suits him and gets the best out of him as a striker. But all the same, best way to answer a manager who's doubting you is by coming on and scoring. And I think when I've got some, bits, I was looking over some of the stats today, and his starts or his minutes, games to assist ratio is the same as Calvert-Lewin's. They both made 1 assist each, and we haven't really seen him, have we? So it almost poses the question is like, is it really working with Dom or from playing that way? If he's only made 1 assist, I think he scored 2 goals. Calvert-Lewin, he's got 1. Beto. So, he's probably played half the amount of games, but he's got the same stats for me. We haven't even seen him.
Yeah, it definitely puts a thought, not only in a manager's head, but it reignites supporters like me and you thinking, like, actually, is there something in there? Is that someone that you can bring on with 20 minutes to go, as opposed to, when we have to? Is it someone you can bring on when we're drawing the game to go and win it? But I was pleased for him, and at the end of the game, he looked emotional, didn't he? He was being comforted by his Portuguese colleagues,
Of course,
Chaviti and Virginia, and it looked like And I think I think all the team came out after it. Michael Keane was on Sky Sports praising them. Sean Dyche came out and said, "This lad works hard." At the end of the day, it's a lad in his 20s in a foreign country trying his best, and it was nice to see that for me.
Yeah. And again, we don't know, obviously the issues he's going through. Sitting on the bench isn't the place where you wanted the sign to sit, is it? It's on the pitch.
Yeah.
I just think with Dice, though, I personally don't think he's used them enough in the right way. Whether that's the way he's made the substitutions, the timings, he's very. I mean, I see it every week. Every team we play makes really good use of the five subs. They do rotate them and they do freshen it up. And he just doesn't seem to, for me, it's always a delayed, it's a reaction. It's not like being proactive with your subs where most teams
Yeah.
have been, especially the ones who come to Goodison. The Bournemouth game being one of them. They were down and out and they used the subs to get back in the game. He just doesn't seem to you have that flexibility with the squad or that trust in it to rotate it. Maybe obviously it's his style, but I do think Beto could probably have played more, which would have benefited them. Overall in terms of his minutes and his contribution to the games. But I just feel sorry for him in a way because he just seems to be the last 10-minute man, doesn't he? Not the last
Yeah.
20-minute or 25-minute man, but. That goal to his confidence, the world are good. Like you're saying, the players are coming out, managers come out. It could be the kick on he needed, to kickstart his career and his confidence.
Hopefully, I just thought it was right to touch upon that because I think we're all guilty of it. You forget the human being part of it, and like I said, it's a lad sitting in a different country on a bench, and he's away from whoever it is. And I just thought it was a nice moment that week that he got the equaliser, he got cheered off, and let's put a pin in the Fulham game now and move forward. Before we do, we've had loads of messages on Sean Dyche. We always get them, and it seems to be. I'm not saying he's Marmite. I don't think he's that, but I do think he does seem to have a section who appreciate him more, and then there's a section who maybe want a lot more from him, and not a lot of people in the middle. When Everton stayed up last season, miracle worker. When Everton don't play well, dinosaur. There's never sort of in the middle. For me, very appreciative of the 2 years that he's done. When he came in after Lampard, I thought we were dead. When we got the points deduction, I thought we couldn't come back from that. Credit's got to go to him for that. But I watch like for like substitutions and I pull my hair out. I see some quotes from him and I pull my hair out. I'm sort of probably in the middle. Where are you on Dyche? Are you there or are you one way or the
Yeah,
other?
Mills. I think I've grown to him. The longer he's been here, but not to the point where I think he is the man with the new ownership. And more money to take us forward. I think he's done an unbelievable job to steady the ship, get the best out of some players who are arguably classed as being finished or just not good enough. He's been able to bring a few players in, whether they're his own players or the other players who've come in, and he gets results. Whether they're nice games to watch is irrelevant. He gets points on the board. So we've lost another bad start to the season where we've lost a couple of games on the run, but he seems to have turned a corner again. And I think that's one thing you'll get from him is he'll have a hard working team, but it might not play the type of football that we all maybe want to see as fans of the Premier League or whatever you want to call it, even Evertonians. But I am like you, probably grateful for the job of steadying the ship and pulling us through a very, very difficult period in the club's history. But is he the manager you want to take into the new stadium? I can't see that. I can't see the new ownership doing that. But I still think this next transfer window in January will be absolutely essential. Again, given the fact that we've got players out of contract, we've got players who are on loan, and we need to strengthen in maybe one or two areas. I'd like to see what he could bring in January, in North Thelwell, and just see if he could have a bit more balance, to the group to take us forward into the end of the season, because we are still, I probably think, at the early stages of a full rebuild.
Yeah, I think next summer's key. I'm with you in January. The only worry I've got about January is not only is the manager out of contract, the director of football is out of contract. Do they have not so much the authority, but are they looking for a player that's going to kick on in 2 years, 3 years, or are they going to look at a short-term player that'll get Everton over the line? I don't know. It's going to be interesting in January. It's going to be interesting when the Freaking group come in, what their communications are like. because there's rumours already that they might be bringing their own people in. Is that their own football people as well as the business people? It's going to be a really interesting. For me, I think, barring a catastrophe this season, and we're okay, I think Sean Dyche will be remembered more fondly than what maybe he gets at the minute. And that's not right or wrong. Again, it's all opinion. But call Southampton away this Saturday. It's a big, big chance again to extend the unbeaten run to 6. But with what's coming up in December and another international break at the end of November, for me, don't give those newly promoted sides anything. I think Everton got to go and win there on Saturday.
Yeah, I think points on the board is the message in it. Whether that's 1 or 3, I just just get as many points on the board as you can, and just don't lose. Again, I'd even sit through a painful 90 minutes or 90 plus, whatever it is, just to get a result, just to keep the points chipping on the board, but also the unbeaten run going. But I think it might suit Everton playing away from home, Mills, if I'm being honest. The pressure's obviously back on Southampton massively. It's a bit of an Ipswich game for me, this. I think it's all on them. We're obviously going to have to defend well and ride our luck, which I think it suits the way he sets them up and frustrates them. But points on the board, it'd be enough for me. But obviously, I'd love 3 points.
I want all 3. I don't think he gave them anything. I think looking at Southampton, and we played a weaker team against them in the Carabao Cup this year. Even against our weaker team, they didn't look good, and they were almost full strength. I've seen Ipswich last season. I've seen Burnley and Sheffield United. I think the gulf between Championship and Premiership is as big as it's ever been. I think Leicester will give it a go this season. Luton, God love them, give it a go. But don't give the likes of Southampton and Ipswich anything. I'd be going and trying to turn them over, to be honest. Just put them back in their lane with no disrespect due, but I think we've got to go and beat those teams.
Yeah, I mean, Mills. I mean, as I say, I'd love the 3 points, but I just think getting points on the board is absolutely essential away from home. Any points on the board, regardless of the performance. But like I say, I think the game will suit us better being away. And obviously, I think the way Southampton play, they're very open. You know what I mean? So I've watched the last few games. They're quite open to counter attacks. It might suit us. The way we're playing, a little bit more direct. And they certainly concede a few from set pieces. So, I think a set piece could be could be one of the big differences in the game.
Do you want to give us a little prediction neck on the line for Saturday?
I'm going to go with 2-1 Everton.
Okay.
I do think Southampton will score, even though we've held a few clean sheets recently, because they're going to come out all guns blazing. It's whether we can keep them quiet in the first, I'd say, 10 to 15 minutes. And I just think, like most home teams, if they're struggling, the crowd will get a bit more, edgy, frustrating, and I think we just need to play on them. But 2-1.
I'll go with you for that. 2-1 Everton. I'll go with you on that one, yeah. Got 3 social media questions that we'll chew the fat over, Col. But the first one, we've got one just away from that, directed at the podcast. And someone actually asked me the same question again on Saturday at the game, so we'll address that quickly because I don't want to be seen that we're ignoring things. Cal on Twitter, Daz on Twitter has said, do you not do the instant match reactions anymore or the away fan previews? A few people have asked us that over the time. We are going to get back to doing the instant match reactions. Judgy, promoted in his new job, has been very, very busy. I've moved house, very, very busy. It's been a case of when we get the game, we've had to shoot right back. Away fan previews, again, have fell by the wayside just because we haven't had a lot of time. And I apologise for that because I know they're popular, but we are sort of getting back to where we need to be. I've got the new Ken and a new job. Judy's got a new job. It's all going to settle down. We'll try and get a Southampton fan on this week, and we'll try and do an instant match reaction, and we'll try and bring them back. But I'd like to say I do appreciate people asking that. It means a lot that people do enjoy the content. So, Carl, let's get into the socials. First one is Cal, and he's asked, what did we make of the Graham Sharp comments? And Cal's added that he thinks Sharp's comments were out of order. I'll just give my 2 cents worth, and then we'll get yours. He was asked a question, he's given an answer, and if we don't like that answer, then it doesn't make it right or wrong. I wish he didn't go to the lengths of what he said, and he did say he doesn't feel welcome and stuff. But you're looking at someone who has an opinion and feels they were right and feels might have been a bit of an injustice. I wish he never said it, but if I seen Graham Sharp walking down Goodison Road on Saturday, I would absolutely love it. And it would be a shame for me, Col, if the 1985 team, for instance, were paraded on the pitch at Goodison Park and he wasn't part of it. So what do you make of, first of all, Sharpie's comments, and would you like to see Sharpie back, in the stands next to Peter Reid watching Everton?
Yeah, absolutely, I would. Yeah. I think there's obviously too much water under the bridge for him. How he feels about it at the moment, and I think if you look back to that period of time, the amount of turbulence that was going on at the club. A lot of fans probably vented anger through Sharpie because they probably expected more. From a fan's point of view to know what was going on, but I still think there's a lot more to that story and the backdrop to it that Sharpie probably wasn't even aware of. I still think we still today don't even know an awful lot about some of the real issues that were taking place, and those guys were having to deal with a lot on a day by day basis. But I'd be disappointed if the fans didn't welcome him personally. I think how he feels is a little bit raw at the moment, but given anyone put in that situation, you'd probably feel similar yourself, and you'd feel a little bit, wary of coming back into, a Goodison crowd, so to speak. I do feel probably the way you've just put it there, to have the 85 team paraded on Goodison Park and there be no Sharpie, I think that'd be a very sad sort of situation for the club. I think the club should do everything they can, to kind of bridge that issue. Even moving into the new stadium, the likes of Sharpie, the Reids, all those types of people, we've grew up watching. They should be the foundation of the club. The examples of what we want to base our team on moving forward and our club on. But all the same, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and slate Sharpie for what he said or what happens, because again, Mills, we probably know very little about the backdrop to the issues. We probably seen all that as usual, the fans, the superficial side of it, and then we vent our anger at the next person who we can. And unfortunately, that was Sharpie at the time.
Okay, another one from AFC Picks. This is one on the current squad. Out of all of the out-of-contract players, is there anyone you'd keep for next season? Ashley Young, Seamus Coleman, Abdoulaye Doucouré, Idrissa Gana Gueye, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and obviously the three loanees as well: Mangala, Lindstrom, Ambrosia.
Out of the loanees, I probably wouldn't keep Harrison. Sorry, I think I've seen enough at the minute to probably see him out to the end of the season. I'm seeing enough of the others, but obviously I'm looking forward to watching. But again, it's going to take him a bit of time to get up to speed. I mean, it might be controversial, this, but I think, from my point of view, I think Calvert-Lewin, Doucouré, and Gana Gueye deserve another year at least. To keep building that squad up. To lose those three, the experience that they've got alongside, Seamus and maybe Ashley Young, there's a lot of experience going up the group there. From the foundations that are kind of being set by this manager. But and the Donovan Calvert-Lewin one, I've got loads of lads who sit around me who, get rid of him, bring someone new in, blah blah blah. But in all honesty, Mills, where are we going to get someone who understands the club, and the team as well as he does? Maybe doesn't contribute as much, over the course of the season with goals, but for me, he's definitely worth the new contract. Maybe not worth the wages he's probably asking for. And I think the test will be is I couldn't see any other club really throwing a 2 year with an option of another at a half decent wage at him. And I think that's probably what Everton need to do, is give him the security of another 2 years with the option of a third. But obviously the wage is probably up for negotiating based on play, how many games he can complete in the season. Bit of a performance play or playing sort of like conditioned contract. But I'll be honest with you, I think depending on what he brings in January, my mind will probably be a bit more made up then, because if he brings any signings in rather than loans in January, then it might change the picture. Still a few people to come back, isn't he? Patterson, I haven't seen enough of him. He's probably suffered from 2 or 3 managers as well. He may move on, like Godfrey moved on in a similar position. And Michael Keane's out of contract, I believe, as well, isn't he?
Michael Keane's out as well, yeah.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't be too worried if he moved on. I think it's right for him as well to move on. And if Branthwaite's there, maybe bring in another centre half in his place, because he's on good wages. We need to reduce his wage bill massively. But O'Brien's a tricky one as well. I mean, I'm jumping on from player to player here. We need to see a little bit more of him before we can probably pinpoint 1 or 2 of those players moving on between the likes of him and Patterson. But I can't see Ashley Young getting a renewal. I think this is him done. I think Seamus has done. I'd love him to come into the coaching setup and just be around the first team squad with the likes of Bainesy. And I've seen Jags around the club a lot lately. I'd love to see someone like him come back in and get involved in the structure. But it's a bit of a thrower up in the air at the minute, Mills, and whichever way it's set, I think it'll depend probably for me by January when that transfer window kicks in, what he looks to strengthen, because some of their game time might be considerably limited moving forward.
Yeah. I think it's quite likely that you don't keep any of them. To be honest, I can see a scenario where Dominic Calvert-Lewin, in my opinion, I think he's going to go. I don't see how that's. I think just a guy at 36 may make a decision that he doesn't want another deal. Abdoulaye Doucouré, with the possibility of a nice big payday at the other side of the world, may decide he doesn't want to stay at Everton. And then you're looking at, like you said, the loanees. Do you pay a fee for Jack Harrison? Don't think so. Do you pay a fee for Lindstrom on the basis of this? Not so far, no. Young's going to be 40. Seamus Coleman, I would love to run out in the new stadium for his final season. I'd love that to be his final season. Does his body get him there? I don't know. And then it's a scenario now where, again, we touched upon it. The director of football and the manager, they don't know where they're going to be next season either. So it's the next, from here until the first game of next season, is huge. I don't think people actually realise that when we first returned to pre-season, how limited that squad can actually be. And you're not even talking about Dele Alli. We haven't even talked about him. Yeah, can you get him on a pay-as-you-play sort of deal and get 18 months out of him, perhaps? There's a lot of plates to spin. Last question, Carl. We gave a question to Melanie last week, which Jay, our listener, liked. We asked Melanie, name three players out of the 80s Everton team that she watched and she paired about to put into this team now. She asked for all 11. Who wouldn't ask for all 11, but we couldn't. So same question to us, really, from Jay. He said 3 players that you've seen play for Everton who you'd put in now. I'll quickly spin 3 names, then you can either stick or twist and expand. Romelu Lukaku goes up front. Andrei Kanchelskis goes right wing, and I put Joe Parkinson in the middle.
Andy Hinchcliffe at left back. Yeah, that kills me even saying that while Baines is still at the club. But
that left peg, though.
I grew up watching Inchy. Peter Reid in the middle. I think we probably need a little bit of bite, personality. Someone who can score goals as well. And I'd probably go a little bit more Stephen Pienaar. I just think his relationship with Bainesy, we created so much, from the sides, from him.
So you're going to twist from Hinchcliffe to Baines then to accommodate the Pienaar Baines? Yeah. Is this a decision you've got to make on the spot?
Yeah, with Hinchcliffe, with the current manager, I think he'd be a dream. Them crosses, corners, set pieces. I just think his delivery was immense. I mean, if I could throw add another one in, if I could, probably Cahill.
Yeah, there's loads.
Cahill, Cahill would suit that team so much in that number 10 role. And I think we'd score a lot more goals with an attacker midfielder like that.
Yeah, you would. Even do you know who would fit in this team as that attacking midfielder? Big Marouane Fellaini.
Yeah. And honestly, he was so underrated with us in. You know,
Yeah.
and I think Moyes, you know, that system he had, that 4-5-1, it was dry to watch sometimes, but it was effective. He used to create so many midfielders, the amount of midfielders that used to score goals for us, from Morelos right the way across, you know, to the other side, Pina, unbelievable. And you look at the strikers we had, the likes of BT's, Bent, you know, they didn't score many goals, did they? You know, they were more of a decoy centre forwards. Most of the midfielders who produced the goals, but well, no, great question that.
Was a great question. So next time we'll get a guest on, we'll sort of continue that theme. But that brings us to the end of the show, Cole. We're going to let you go and get your egg and chips on this winter evening. Winter's crept in; it's freezing, so it's going to be a nice winter's tea for me tonight. But what's your plans for the rest of the week? Are you just busy in work? Are you gonna try and catch the Southampton game on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm going to try and get the Southampton game. It's half term, isn't it? So I'm in tomorrow
Yeah,
and off for the rest of the week with the kids. Bit of footy with the kids the weekends as usual. You know, persecuted running two teams, Mills. So just going to enjoy getting the kids ready for the weekend. Yeah, just hopefully 3 points for the Blues.
absolutely. Like life's too short to not enjoy half term, isn't it? So
Yeah.
anyone who's watching with the little ones as well, we hope you have an amazing half term with the little ones. I've got a few plans as well, myself with mine. In relation to the podcast, like I said at the start, more content this week. We are going to try and get the away fan preview going again, and we've got to give a big special mention to the Everton women and Everton Football Club in general, who've put the prices for the two Goodison Park games. So Everton are playing this Sunday at Goodison Park against Chelsea in an evening game, and a Merseyside derby in mid-November on a Sunday afternoon, and they put the prices at £2 for kids. I can't commend that enough. To be able to take your kids into Goodison Park for £2, it might be the only chance for some people to take their kids in there. So tickets are available at evertonfc.com for both, and I'm going to be down there this week speaking to the skipper Megan Finnegan, asking her all questions about Everton's form this season, which hasn't been the best. They've been unlucky at times. Is she looking forward to playing at Goodison? Is she going to miss it the way we're going to miss it? I'll be down there covering it all. But this week has been all about the Toffees playing awful and somehow still coming away with the point. Carl, thanks for joining us again on Across the Park podcast. Everybody enjoy half term. Up them Toffees.
Up the Toffees.